Okay, well, welcome everyone. It's been a long time since we've seen each other, and I look forward to seeing each person in person. I believe that might happen next month. We'll see. But welcome back. A lot has taken place over the last year. Uh, hey, we're on this side of the earth, so we thank God for that, right? I know a lot has happened, and we might catch up somewhere during the process. But I do want to welcome everyone and hereby open up this meeting.
Should we do a quick reintroduction of everyone and then introduction for
I think that would be good. I thought about that. So what we'll do is just first of all introduce each one that are a commissioner. Okay. My name is Reginald Woods. I am a mayoral appointee, so I'm not representing any particular ward, but I represent the whole city, and I am the chair of this commission. And I look forward to working with those that are new and catching up with everybody else. So I've been a resident of San Bernardino since the 60s, back in the day where San Bernardino was a different city altogether. I'll just say it that way. West side, east side, stark difference. I was busted across town, and the rest is history. So I look forward to sharing with you, and I trust that each person's contribution is impactful. With that, let's go to Ward 1. I want to verify this because there's been some changes. Okay.
Dr. Woods, sorry to interrupt you. Should we do the Pledge of Allegiance and roll call first before we do the introductions?
Oh, yeah. We can do that. We could do that. Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at this. Okay. Yes. I guess I'll go ahead and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll do the roll call and go from there. All right. So I guess we stand. Find your flag. And here we go. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
For all.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we want to take a roll call to see all that are present here today. All right, and Commissioner for Ward 1 is vacant. That's correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Commissioner for Ward 2, Gary Blake.
Present.
Commissioner for Ward 3, Sandra Kurkowski.
Present.
Commissioner for Ward 4, vacant. Commissioner for Ward 5, Alejandro Ifaz.
Present.
Commissioner for Ward 6, Maxine Henderson.
Here.
And Commissioner Ward 7, Alberta R. Vanetes.
Here, present.
Okay. All right. Once again, I am the chairperson. And we also have mayoral appointee Angela Hoffman.
Here.
Okay. All right, great. So there we go. We have our Pledge of Allegiance. We have our check-in, but I do want to take this time once again to have each person to introduce themselves since it's been a while, okay? So I introduce myself. I'm gonna ask Commissioner Blake to give a brief, just a shout out to everyone.
Hi, this is Gary Blake. I'm Ward 2 representative. Been on the commission for, this will be the 3rd year, and I've lived in San Bernardino all my life, 54 years, and that's about it.
Awesome, thank you. Commissioner for Ward 3, Sandra Kurkowski. You might want to pronounce your name better for me if I didn't say it quite correctly.
You pronounced it just fine. Kurkowski is what it is. I've been on other commission. I've been a commission on other boards before. and I manage a mobile home park in San Bernardino. I've lived in San Bernardino for 23 years.
Awesome. Very good. Okay. Then Commissioner for Ward 5, Alejandro Faz.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Alejandro. I believe I am by far the youngest person on this commission. I am a ripe 22 years old, and I believe that I am the youngest commissioner in the city of San Bernardino. I was recently appointed by Councilman Reynoso to represent the ward, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Good.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yes, yes. Then Commissioner for Ward 6, Maxine Henderson.
Yes, Maxine Henderson. I think this is my 4th or 5th term with the commission. I've been in San Bernardino for over 60 years.
Wow.
And I've seen San Bernardino grow, and I've seen San Bernardino collapse. And my prayer is to bring San Bernardino back like it once was. This was a beautiful city, and I hope to see it again someday. But I've been here all my life, went here to elementary, junior high, Pacific Valley College, and the colleges. And I retired from San Bernardino County, I believe it was 2017. But welcome everyone to our commission.
Thank you very much. Okay. And then Commissioner from Ward 6, Alberta Vanetis.
Hi, it's Alberta Vanette. You can call me Bertie. And I live in
okay.
Ward 7.
Okay.
I've been a resident for 4 years, so I'm probably the newest resident on this board. I'm retired from Bonita Unified School District, and currently I am at home, so have a lot of time on my hands. I volunteered regularly at the shelter pre-COVID, and I'm just grateful to be on this commission and hope to help out as much as I can.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Great. Well, we welcome each one of you that are new to the commission, and I trust that you sat down with your council person who appointed you, and then probably we're a little dry and rusty, so we're going to have to catch us all up, including the new commissioners. And so now that we're kind of reactivating, I will get with each one of you that are new to kind of do a little bit of acclimation. Okay, but I do want to welcome you tonight. Today, I'm not going to say it's going to be brief, but we're going to do just a lot of refamiliarization of what our purpose is and being introduced to all the new people that are now part of this commission. Of course, Miss Wanda, who now is the administrative staff person who centralizes all of our meetings and the agendas, the whole 9 yards. And then we have a new director, finally, Christine Watson, and we certainly welcome Christine. And we certainly are looking forward to meeting you and finding out where you are and where we go from here. So, excuse me. So with that said and done, does everyone have an agenda with you?
Yeah.
Okay. We want to follow that. All right. So we've already done the call to order, pledge allegiance, roll call, and public comments. I don't know if there are any public comments.
There aren't any public comments. We didn't receive any written or called in comments today. I think I don't know, Angela, I don't know if you got an opportunity to introduce yourself to the residents either. I think, you're down way at the bottom. So
Okay.
That's okay. No, don't worry, Dr. Woods. Like you said, we're all rusty. This is my first time. This is Wanda's first time. So yeah, and next time we'll be in person, so it'll be a little easier.
Hello, my name is Angela Hoffman, and I actually am a transplant to San Bernardino from Illinois about 18 years ago. So I started off on the rescue side of animal control several years ago, and then I started trying to figure out how the city works and operates, and I became a commissioner 2 years ago, three years ago, and I'm just happy to work on both sides of the animal care and wellness in San Bernardino. So I'm so excited about all the changes that have been made over the past year. And I look forward to working with all of you.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Awesome. Okay, as far as the consent calendar, I don't think there's anything listed on the consent calendar either, correct?
There is one thing on the consent calendar to approve the draft minutes from the last meeting, which was all the way in March 2020.
Okay. Did everyone have the opportunity to look at those minutes?
No.
Did not?
Yes. Is that March 11th, 2020?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I'm gonna ask everyone just take a brief minute to look at those, look at this real quickly, and because we're gonna vote to approve this. So please take a look at this, please. Okay, very good. All right, so these are the minutes from Wednesday, March the 11th. Of course, this is before we all really fully realized what this pandemic was, and who knew it'd be a year plus later that we would reconvene. But did anyone see anything in the minutes that needs to be corrected? Any addition? Anything that needs to be corrected? If so, please let it be known. Okay, so these minutes have been presented. We want to go ahead and get a tally on those that want to approve this minute. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, these minutes are accepted then as presented. All right, very good. All right, so that is that. Now, what I want to do is, Wanda, I would like you to introduce yourself and explain to each person present your role compared to what Melina did before you came aboard. So welcome aboard, Wanda. Officially, this is my first time actually getting a chance to see you. So welcome. So can you take the floor, as it were, and kind of share your background and what you do related to this commission, please? Thank you.
Okay, so I am the secretary. I'm nice to meet everyone that's new. Some of you know me from several years. I've been with Animal Services almost 7 years. My role in the Animal Control Commission is to notify you every one of the meetings, to send out the agendas, and to post on Minute Track so that everything can be seen by anyone in the city that would like to. If you have any questions or concerns, you can contact me, and we will get with Christine and with your chairperson, and we will go forward with that. But I'm a supportive role, so you won't really see me. I'm just going to be in the background. Okay.
Don't let her minimize her role. Her role is very, very important.
Thank you.
She's the glue. She's the glue and the connecting of the dots. So, Wanda,
you.
thank you very much. We appreciate what you do. Okay.
Thank you.
And then we want to, give a round of applause for our new director, Christine Watson. Hey. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. This has been a long time
Coming.
Oh my goodness. And then also just kind of the reformation of how we handle animal services, moving it away from the police department. And I'm going to let you explain all of that. I don't have much to say today. You have plenty to say. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to you so you can kind of introduce yourself and then bring us up to date. If we have any questions, you can either ask however she wants to entertain the question, whether during or after her presentation. But Christine, floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Woods. I appreciate that. So I started with the city last August. We are now our own department underneath the city. We're no longer part of the police department. We're still in the process of transitioning completely out of there. So right now I report directly to the city manager and the assistant city manager, and then I have staff under me. Wanda is my executive assistant and my right hand. I don't know what I would do without her. She answers all incoming calls and makes sure I get to my meetings and brings all issues to my attention. I have a shelter supervisor. And she oversees kennel staff as well as the front counter staff at the moment. And then I have animal control officers that report directly to me as well. We will be talking about the budget tomorrow. So I hope you guys are able to attend or watch the special council meeting for the budget. We'll be talking about things that the whole city, different departments need for the following year. So that's, really huge. It's key for everything that's going to happen next year. So yeah, all staff usually tell me what's going on. They report, like the animal control officers, Leslie and Wanda, report directly to me. And then the rest of staff, the shelter attendants and the front counter staff all report to Leslie. And when Leslie's not here, I am in charge, and everybody reports up to me. I was recently the assistant director for Orange County Animal Care and Control. We managed the animal care and sheltering services for 14 contract cities in all of the unincorporated areas of Orange County. I have grown up in the Inland Empire, so I was born here. My mom's Canadian, so but I was born here in the Inland Empire and grew up here, going to Upland High School. My husband and I both attended UC Riverside, so we've lived in several areas in the Inland Empire. So getting this job was kind of like coming back home for me. I remember going to the Carousel Mall and everything on really big day trips as a kid. So I am definitely excited about being a part of the revitalization of the city, and that starts with our animal services department. I do have an update for you on all of the work that's been done this past year. That does include several facility upgrades, all of the mold remediation and everything that was discussed last year, 2019, 2020 was completed in March of last year. There's fresh paint throughout the main building as well as outside. We have fencing that's all enclosed around the isolation area, and that was done to comply with veterinary medical board regulations, because that area is considered a part of the clinic for the shelter, and so there are some special requirements in place for our quarantine isolation area. There is new roofing throughout the facility. We have updated air conditioning in all of the kennels, dog kennels. We recently replaced in December the air conditioning and heating system in the cat building, which was really exciting because that didn't have anything. We were using plug-in humidifiers and heaters. So it's actually, there's some technical requirements with that which will help increase the health and welfare of the cats in our care. So cats are pretty susceptible to stress in shelters. And so the new HVAC system will hopefully help keep some of the illnesses that we see in cats down. We are currently in the process of electrical upgrades. So, you know, some of the things that we'd like to add to the shelter and are in the process of adding, like industrial size washer and dryer, you know, a couple of other items like dishwasher, other big items that take a really huge draw on electricity. We had to upgrade the electrical in order to accommodate some of those new items. So that is currently in the works with an estimated completion date of June of this year. We're just waiting on some of the supplies for the contractor to finish that project. We are installing cat portals in all of the cat cages. So our cat kennels are pretty small. They were purchased quite a while ago before before the industry really understood what cats needed as far as space is concerned in a kennel environment. So they do need a separate space for their litter box and then their bedding and their food, and there needs to be a certain amount of space between all of those in order to ensure that they stay healthy and well during their time at the shelter. So the portals were designed by UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine, and they're made by the same company that made our kennels. So instead of purchasing all brand new kennels, we are able to install these portals in between two cages, and you open up that portal when you have enough space for animals, and so the cats get technically 2 cages instead of what was 1. And so it's an inexpensive way for us to upgrade those kennels to be in line with current animal welfare standards. That is in the process. The portals were delivered last week, and we're waiting on installation of those. So that is very exciting. So we'll, you know, be able to take pictures of that and share it with all of you. The industrial washer and dryer, we're working on ordering and getting installed by the end of this fiscal year. We are currently in the process of upgrading all of the play yards at the shelter. So previously, when I got here, we had some freestanding fence panels that had been donated, which was great. Staff put them together in order to construct play yards. We are putting real fence panels in that are cemented in, which will reduce the likelihood of animals escaping out of those play yards and will allow us to start doing some pretty exciting things like play groups. Play groups are now considered, you know, kind of a standard enrichment tool for shelters. It reduces the stress for dogs when they're at a shelter. It also gives us some information for potential adopters, like how those dogs do with other dogs, what is their play style, have they been socialized around other dogs, they have good dog manners, essentially. So that's something that we're really excited to be able to start now that we're getting the proper structures in place for those programs. And we'll be going out to see what nonprofits will be able to come on board and train staff and volunteers on running a play group, because there's some safety protocols and standards that need to be put in place before we start those. The old admin trailer is in the process of being demolished. That's where I think I sat when I first got here. Wanda and I were in there. Right now we're temporarily off-site, which is a little bit of a struggle. We're going back and forth to the shelter to communicate with staff. But they're taking down that old building. It was deemed unsafe, so that is being demolished, and we'll be putting in a new trailer over there. We'll also be doing a new trailer to replace our current customer service. So in our parking lot in front of the fence entrance we have right now, we'll be putting a temporary trailer there with additional customer service windows, as well as an office for our team with the Lang Foundation that works on helping people with their pets, whether they've been impounded at the shelter or they need help with their pets in the community. Those are the big physical changes that we've had. As far as programmatic changes are concerned, our online licensing payments were approved by the mayor and city council on March 3rd during their meeting. That means that within the next month and a half, 2 months, depending on our software vendor, residents in the city will be able to go online to our website and pay for their dog licensing, or pay for their or offer a donation if they want to put a donation towards the shelter or any of our programs. So you no longer need to come in person or mail off that licensing payment. It'll be a lot easier for citizens to comply with that ordinance. And then the exciting news is that now that we're in the orange tier and the state is preparing to open back up, we've been on an appointment system since everything was shut down last year. We're going to start allowing public access to freely walk through the shelter beginning on Tuesday, May 18th. So we're opening it up between the hours of noon and 3 p.m. for people to walk through. We're still going to need to control the size of the crowds and the number of people walking through at any given time, but it's been a request from residents to come in. They want to come be able to walk through the shelter and see all of the animals, and we're excited to welcome everybody back. We're still going to be doing appointments for adoptions, but other services are going to be handled on a walk-in basis as staffing permits. If people want to make an appointment, that is easy because that allows us the ability to plan our day, but appointments have not been required for redemptions or strays for the past few months. We're going to continue on that trend. Of course, we're going to be requiring that people wear face coverings, that they're doing social distancing, and we're going to be watching the number of people either in the office or walking throughout the facility at any given time to make sure that we're adhering to all of the local and state health mandates. We're working right now to restructure our volunteer and foster program. We have Best Friends Animal Society in mentoring staff to ensure our new programs are successful. We're excited about welcoming back volunteers. It's been a long time, and I'm hoping that each of you will help us reach out to the community and get more people in our city volunteering at the shelter. It would be a great opportunity for us to bring everybody in and really strengthen that connection between the shelter and all of the residents. People can go online right now and fill out a volunteer application. It is located on our website, and there's a volunteer page with a link to the application. And anybody who's interested in volunteering with us just needs to go there, click on the link, and put in their information, and we'll be calling them back. We're looking for all sorts of skill sets. So we need people to help out, not just with cleaning cages and socializing the animals. We need help with clerical work, or people helping us with lost and found animals. So we're really hoping that the community can help, whether they can come to the shelter or not. If they're able to stay home and look through lost and found reports and try and match up animals that maybe somebody found with one that somebody lost, and even with the animals that are at the facility, will be doing a huge service to the community and making sure that they get their animals back. The really big thing that we have right now is that the Lang Foundation has an intervention program at the site. We entered into the contract with them a couple of months ago now. They're here to help residents who may not be able to afford that medical bill for their pet, whose pet got impounded. It got out because the kids left the gate open and animal control picked it up. It's at the shelter, and they can't afford the bill to get their animal out of the shelter or get it spayed or neutered. If they have an issue where they're considering owner surrendering their pet, the Lang Foundation could potentially help them with training or whatever the person needs. So that number is 909-600-0738. There's also an email, and that's up. We'll be putting that up on our website. We did add it to our Facebook feed this week, and that is a great tool for residents to be able to call the Lang Foundation and say, hey, I love my pet. I want to keep my pet. I want to do the best I can for my pet. I'm just strapped financially right now, and I need some help. And they're there to help them. So that's a really great partnership we have in place. I do have some information on grant funding, but I just wanted to stop and see if there's any questions yet on everything that I've talked about so far. I know I'm going through it what feels like really fast. Alejandro.
Yes, I have two questions. You mentioned that adoptions are taking appointments currently, right? The shelter's taking appointments for adoptions. Can we also potentially set up the online system for licensing and donations to also set up an appointment with the animal shelter? Is that a possibility just for the convenience factor?
I'm looking at that right now. It's a little difficult because, you know, we have, for every available animal, there's up to 3 appointments allowed, and the system would need to know exactly when that animal becomes available and only allow 3 appointments. So I'm playing with it. I agree it would be great for us to do that completely online so that people don't have to go on the phone and wait. But I don't have a solution for that as yet.
Understood. And then also in relation to the Lang Foundation, is it only low income or just currently strapped for cash people who can make a call to the Lang Foundation, or can it be anybody, even with the wherewithal, to make those payments?
Anybody in San Bernardino City who needs help and is looking for assistance with their animal can call the Lang Foundation and let them know what they need. Because we know with the pandemic, there are several people that may have had the means at the beginning of the pandemic, but now they're, you know, it's a struggle trying to pay for rent, and maybe somebody's only working part-time. So, you know, it's, if you need help, you know, they're there to assist you.
Understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions before I talk about the, yes, Angela.
I just had a few questions. The play yard is wonderful because I've been reading about different shelters in LA that are doing the play groups. So that's really exciting. And then I was just wondering, do you know how long that might take? When that might start?
It will probably honestly be, you know, about 2 months or so. I'm looking at potentially August or September. It all depends on the groups that offer that training. They do offer it for free to shelters, but it's a matter of getting them in and scheduled. I'd also like to get a few more volunteers on our rolls before we do that, because that would be something that the volunteers could assist with, as well as their, you know, as their skill set, and they have the desire to do that. So
Okay.
right now, because we're redoing the whole volunteer program, we don't have very many people enrolled, and I'd really like to see that increase, because we, you know, we love having volunteers. It's a way to bring the community in, and it's a way for us to get a lot of things done that if we're just relying on staff to be able to do those, there's way too much to get done in one day than we have staff members to do that. So
Right. And the training you're referring to is training the shelter and a group of volunteers how to run the play yards?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So there's you know, a couple of groups that are national nonprofits that do that specific training, that have the knowledge to do that. So you're looking at safety. How do you handle it if dogs start getting into a tussle? What kind of tools are there for you to measure how these animals are doing? How do you read their behavior and body language to know when a dog is uncomfortable before any sort of incident happens? So that's a lot of, usually their training is a couple of intense days on site, up to a week on site, and then staff starts doing it while they're there on site, and then eventually transitions off to just staff.
That is excellent. Okay. And then temp testing, would that also be worked in then? And then there might be like a temp, like behavior report for the dogs?
Temp testing, because the shelter is what's known as an artificial environment, we don't really know what the dogs are going to be like. The shelter is very like artificial, we don't know what's going to happen once they get into a home. The play groups will definitely help us with how's that dog around other dogs, how does it behave. We'll know that, you know, just based on how they react with staff. We can know how they are with people, their likes, dislikes. But most shelters are actually moving away from structured temperament testing in the shelter because it's not always accurate. So, you know, some of the things that we're going to be doing with the play groups and just with staff, one-on-one interactions with the animals will help us inform potential adopters and rescues about some of the things that we've seen. So for example, sometimes dogs will be great in a shelter environment. They won't have any sort of resource guarding behavior, which means, like, you know, there are some dogs that get very protective over things and people. They never totally relax in a shelter environment because it's congregate care. There's other animals. It's loud. It's not a home environment. So once they get placed into a home and they start to feel comfortable, their real personality comes out, and you may see resource guarding behavior after that. Like, oh, this person, this is my human. I'm not going to let anybody get close to them. And so those are things that are best, you know, we can give you some information, give the adopter some information, but it's not always like 100% guaranteed just because we don't know how that animal is going to behave once it's completely decompressed and comfortable in its home and bonded with its people.
Awesome. Okay. And then just one more question. Has anything changed with owner surrender policies? The shelter still accepts owner surrenders, right?
We are doing owner surrender cats right now. We have temporarily suspended owner surrender dogs right now, just because we're getting full. Just so you guys know, at the beginning of March, I had 59 dogs in shelter. At the beginning of May 1st, I had 101 dogs in the shelter. And we're working to get those dogs placed as soon as possible. But with holding periods and everything else, it's we have a bit of a backlog. So in order for us to make sure that we can do everything, that we're able to define placement for those dogs that are currently in our care, we're asking citizens to hold off on owner surrenders, see if they can find some resolution with the Lang Foundation if they're able to assist them so they can keep their pet. There are also resources like rescueme.org where people are able to go in and they may be able to find a rescue that can take their pet immediately into another home or foster home before coming into the shelter. The shelter really should be a last resort for owner surrenders. We want pet owners to take some of that responsibility and see what they can do to place the animal on their own. That way they can kind of, if they want to keep tabs on it, let's say a friend takes it or a rescue takes it, they're able to do regular check-ins to see what's going on with that animal. Whereas if they leave it at the shelter, we're not going to be able to tell them. And some pets, just that the shelter's loud, there's a lot of animals. If they're not used to that type of environment, some pets kind of shut down. So, and we really want to be a resource for those animals that are stray, running loose on the streets, are injured, are sick. So we want to make sure that we have enough room at the shelter to accommodate those animals that absolutely have nowhere else to go. So that being said, if somebody's in a bind or an animal is aggressive and they're scared, they can reach out to us, and we will work with them to take that surrender in.
Do you find a lot of owner surrenders coming to the shelter that are being turned away, or once you explain the options? Okay.
Yeah, we since we just started this last week, towards the end of last week, we haven't really had a lot of that right now because it was just something that we communicated to the public on Thursday and Friday, and really had the call center start doing that this week. I am working on staff with some additional training to have that conversation with people like, hey, well, what's going on with your pet? Talk to me. Why do you need to surrender it? Okay, well, it's chewing up everything in sight and I just can't handle it. Well, it sounds like you may need some training. Let me connect you to the Lang Foundation. Here's their number. That's something they may be able to assist you with to kind of keep him from chewing up everything in sight, and so that you guys can repair that issue that you're having, and you might be able to keep that pet. So, all right. Any other questions before I move on to the grant portion? No? Okay. So really exciting for us is that we have 2 grants that were recently approved by council. The really big one that I'm sure everybody has heard about by now is the $1.5 million awarded to us by the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. This is going to be dispersed over a 3-year period. We're looking at the funding to go towards the replacement shelter, new animal control vehicles, to cover the cost of the current facility improvements. So just a little word on the replacement shelter. It's for us, animal welfare standards have changed drastically within the past 5-10 years. So there are things that for us should be in place for a new shelter, and it doesn't make sense to revamp or try and fix the old ones, because we'd have to really start from scratch on a lot of those buildings. So the funding from San Manuel will help us move towards a replacement shelter. There's a lot of steps that we need to do between here and there, including working with mayor and city council and talking to the public about the replacement shelter and what they envision. But you know, this grant funding will help us start that process off. The current facility, we do need to make some improvements so that we can stretch the life of the facility out for the next 2 to 3 years while we're going through that replacement shelter process. So that's why we're doing both. We're doing some minor improvements to the current facility just to make sure that we can make it through and still deliver good customer service and care for the animals that we have. So that's why we're doing that. The grant funding includes a medical fund for injured owned animals. So in addition to the Lang Foundation, we're going to have some funding in there for animals that we pick up that have been hit by a car and they need additional surgery at the vet. So before the owners come forward, we can authorize that surgery in the meantime just to stabilize the pet, and that would be covered by that donation fund. There wouldn't be an expectation for the owners to reimburse us for the entire amount. Spay and neuter for animals in the community. There is, as you all know, there's a mandatory spay neuter ordinance in effect in San Bernardino, but we all know that spaying and neutering your pet can be quite costly. So in order to help people comply with that requirement, we're going to be helping out people with the funding for spay neuter. So that's another item. Medical treatment for animals that are at the shelter, and then also free microchipping for animals in the community. Microchipping helps us get animals back to their owners, and so the more microchips we have out there in animals in the community, the faster we can get animals home and not have to impound them unless absolutely necessary. So officers that are out in the field, they scan animals. If there's a microchip, they can take that animal home as soon as they reach the owner. Animals that aren't wind up back at the shelter and impounded, there's additional fees and costs that are associated with that impound. So this is the first step in really allowing us to link these animals to their owners in San Bernardino so that our officers can get them back quickly. In addition to that grant from Best Friends, we received a $45,000 grant from San Manuel, sorry. We received a $45,000 grant from Best Friends to help with cats and kittens. So, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, one way a lot of shelters, including all of the shelters that I know of in California, the municipal agencies and nonprofits, stopped taking in stray healthy cats and focused on injured, sick, or owner surrendered, just to reduce the number of contacts they had with the community and try to keep everybody safe. UC Davis has also done some studies to show that it's really not effective to impound cats from the community. The best thing that we can do is try and get spay and neuter services to cats that are already in the community to reduce the number of offspring we have in different neighborhoods. So the grant from Best Friends helps with that. So, you know, we can always work with the community and say, oh, you have a mom cat and there's 7 babies. Well, you know, let's get mom spayed. We can adopt out the kittens, but mom should go back. If you're able to provide, you know, some food and water for her, then she can stay in the community. She's comfortable there. She may have one person or several that she goes to. Cats are opportunistic, so they may have 5 or 6 homes in a neighborhood that they regularly go to for food and treats and everything else. So, and they're happy there. They're healthy. There's not anything wrong with them. They actually do some rodent control in the neighborhood. So if we can get them sterilized, get some vaccinations on board and some flea treatment, it's best for them to go back exactly where they came from. So that, you know, this grant will help us with that. It will also help us for those members of the community that find a batch of kittens that may have been abandoned by mom. We can offer them the supplies to help keep them and foster them for a couple of weeks, or, you know, 6 to 8 weeks while they're growing, and then once they're grown, they can come back to the shelter for adoption and spay neuter. And oftentimes what happens is when people foster kittens in their own home, they wind up finding homes for them because people see their posts on social media and they want to adopt the cat. So we would be able to facilitate those adoptions and get the animals spayed and neutered and to their new homes pretty quickly. So that's really exciting. We're looking forward to that grant. There's also some money in there for nuisance mitigation. So although several people in the community might like to have cats in their yard, you may have a neighbor or two that doesn't want them in their rose bushes. They don't want them in their yard. So we'll have some supplies on hand to give out to the community so that they can try it. If it works, then they can then invest in their own supplies, but at least they'll try it first to see if it works. If it does, then they can spend the money to protect their yard. So that's it on the grants.
Ms. Gary, I got a question.
Okay. Yes, how can I help you?
We had the shelter repair fund, and that had about 300 grand still in it. Do we still have that money?
No, that was utilized on several of the projects. So the mold remediation, the new roofing, the HVAC system, the electrical, that fund was used to cover the cost of all of those projects.
Okay. And then also Salmon Well, I guess what I read was they're allocating, like, I think it was like 300,000 again, just for different projects at the shelter. Is there any chance of you guys redoing the parking lot?
We'll look into it. So they're part of that grant funding, the $300,000. Some of that is for replacement shelter, as well as the buildings, the structures at the shelter. We can definitely talk to the city to see what we can do for the parking lot.
Thank you.
Well, this was a great update. My goodness, a lot has taken place in a year, impressively a lot. And so we think that's a great thing. So with that said and done, as you were sharing all of this, my goodness, this is a lot of information. I surely would like to get a summary statement, but I guess Ms. Wanda is going to put it in the minutes. And so if all you shared is in the minutes, that will suffice. Okay. Alejandro, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think there's a few questions still.
Yes, I saw Alejandro's hand up.
No, I'm sorry. I thought Angela had her hand up, so I was trying to get.
No, me too. So you go first, and then I have a few.
Okay. Yeah, Alejandro. Yes, I saw his hand.
So I guess my question is, so this $45,000 is being strictly allocated to these specific initiatives with respect to cats, correct?
Yes.
None of it's going to dogs or anything of that sort, just strictly to cats.
No, and you know, we did include statistics in the packet. The area, we had Best Friends come out and do an evaluation of our programming, including a deep dive into our statistics, as well as things that we offer to the community. And, you know, cats have a difficult time in shelters. Our save rate for dogs is right on the cusp of the 90%. As a matter of fact, for the first 3 months of this year, from January through March, it was 90%. Cats, the save rate for 2020, all of 2020 for cats was 74%. The bulk of those losing their lives are neonatal kittens or feral cats that you know, have no other option. So through some of this programming in the spay neuter, we're hoping to resolve and fix that issue. Dogs, we tend to have a lot of rescue groups for dogs. It is still difficult to place large breed dogs that have some behavioral issues, but for the most part, what we're finding and have found throughout the pandemic and leading up to that is that dogs tend to go pretty quickly, especially the smaller breed dogs. We can't keep those in the shelter, and they often have they already have 3 adoption appointments, and we still are getting a flood of phone calls from people interested in taking them home. Cats, on the other hand, are much tougher and have a difficult time, not just in our shelter, but it's a problem that we're seeing everywhere. They're usually their save rate lags way behind the dogs in that respect.
Understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Angela?
I was wondering, can we, and you probably already have this figured in, but the spay and neuter funding, can we add an element of education and awareness for that? And that's probably already in there. Okay.
Absolutely. And you know, anything that we can share with you guys, I'm trying to get some more social media up and running. We've done some posts, but again, that's a place where the volunteers can also help us if we have somebody who wants to volunteer their time and help us out in putting more posts out there. My hope is to get some more educational material out about some of these things, the spay neuter, the community cats, all of those things through all of the available social media, Nextdoor, Facebook. I'd also like to work with our water department on potentially like putting some information out in the water bills, especially with like cats and licensing and spay neuter. So yes, some of the money for both, actually for the best friends, and we also have some money in the San Manuel grant to cover communications and public education.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and I'm sure everyone is aware there's still so many misconceptions out there about spay and neuter. So even when there are opportunities, financial opportunities, the people who really need it usually might not take advantage of it because they still feel maybe it's not right, it's harmful. So that's excellent. And then my last question is TNR and RTF. It can be controversial. I know I got into some, not trouble, but we TNR'd some cats on my campus, and our district had no idea what that meant. And because of the misconceptions with TNR and RTF, it was completely shut down. So I was wondering, is that what the Best Friends program is, or?
It's really open-ended. So, you know, you have, there's TNR, which is trap, neuter, and return. And usually we have somebody identified. RTF can be, well, the animal's healthy, it's well-fleshed, it doesn't seem to have any issues. It's feeding, we just don't know who is feeding it. And you do the spay neuter and you return it, but you don't necessarily have an identified caretaker. So we'll be working with the community to determine, you know, what's the best option. I mean, ideally, I'd like to have, you know, the cats that are healthy talk to the community to see if, hey, do you know who's feeding this cat? And that could be something that the volunteers can help with as well. Canvassing a neighborhood to say, hey, this black and white cat, it's been hanging out for 2 months. I'm feeding it, who else is feeding it? And who in our community wants to take responsibility and make sure that that animal continues to maintain its health and you know, and keep an eye out for it once it's been spayed and neutered and returned to the community.
If that could become a more universally accepted idea, school districts. I mean, the schools, warehouses, grocery stores. I mean, they all have feral cat issues.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Okay, so all that good information will be capsulized in our minutes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that will be a good thing because that was a lot of information, and you hit the road running, didn't you?
I did.
My goodness, that's great, and I'm so glad you got a place to reside besides that raggedy trailer. I was going to ask you that question. We needed to take a, I don't know, dynamite something and get rid of it. So I'm glad you got out of that.
Yeah.
That was not going to make your day and your time pleasurable in there. So that's a good thing. Okay, great. Okay, so thank you for the update and the conversion to nonprofit Friends of Shelter Group. You're going to share that also?
Yes, and so it's really an entry into the conversation here. I know that the Animal Control Commission has been around for a while, but what other shelters have found, Rancho Cucamonga is a really good example, is that they get support from a nonprofit Friends of group. So there is the potential to take our Animal Control Commission and convert it to a nonprofit Friends of arm that would include city residents on the board. You know, we could essentially write that charter. So this is how this would work. This is the purpose. This is the mission for that group. Rancho Cucamonga, I know that their nonprofit Friends of started in much the same way. And they're able to raise funds for the shelter to fund specific positions at the shelter. So let's say, you know, for example, you know, the group determines that they really want somebody to be dedicated to public education and work with the community and do some of that outreach. If they were the group, the nonprofit was able to raise enough money, that could be a position that they fund for the city moving forward. Nonprofits can also fund specific programs. We do have the grant funding to get a lot of these programs underway, but you know, in order to make sure that those programs remain stable and don't fall back onto the city general fund, a nonprofit could make sure that they have regular fundraisers and events in place to secure the funding necessary to continue with those programs and then add to what the shelter is able to offer to support the residents and their animals. So I just wanted to bring that forward to you guys so that you guys could potentially discuss that. We could bring some additional information, feasibility and stuff back at the next meeting, but I just wanted to open that conversation with all of you.
Yeah, that's major change.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it'd be good to kind of study it out, pros, cons. I mean, I would imagine that the city council will have to be a part of that process. So
Yes.
today's, I think, well, most of us are somewhat familiar with that concept, and maybe we should do our own personal study outside of this meeting and what that looks like. But that's going to take us a while for us to swallow that
Yeah.
and digest that. And then that's something really doable for San Bernardino. I know that we, and Alejandro and all the other new individuals will come to find out our challenge of ancient and archaic building structure compared to some of the newer shelters that are out there, what that looks like and what it will take us to get a new facility. I know everything we're doing is a little bit patchwork, correct? All that we're doing is pretty much patchwork, Christine?
The new facility, no. So we have the funding, some of the funding for that. So we have San Manuel. We're looking at getting a design We'll be working with the city council and with you guys to get some input from the community. As you mentioned, there is a lot out there now about animal welfare and shelter design and what benefits the community as well as the animals in our care. So we'll be reviewing a lot of those things, but we want to move quickly on the shelter. We've already talked to Public Works. We're looking at, location. So once we get council approval, once we identify the particulars and we're able to get council approval, I think we'll be moving fairly quickly on that project.
Okay. So when we were meeting last year, we didn't have these funds. So this conversation was not there in terms of, when we talked about it, the funds weren't there. So we were all that we were doing was basically patching up our current. So
Yeah.
that's exciting to be able to talk about a new facility with all of the bells and whistles that makes it a better place for the animals as well as the customers that come. So we have a lot to discuss in 2021. It appears to be, and that's good. Okay, well, with that said and done, I don't have anything else on the agenda, but there might be a few comments or questions from anybody before we wrap up. Anybody? Questions, comments?
I would like to know where the animals are going to be housed once that building is they have demolition that building. Where will the animals be sheltered? Or are you going to work around that and they're going to stay there, or?
So the building that we're demolishing was just an admin building. It held my office and Wanda's office. There were no animal kennels in that
I
building.
mean the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying where the animals are actually housed in. Is that going to be totally demolished and
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're going to work around the animals.
Well, once we look at a new shelter, it may not be at our current location.
Right.
So if it's not at our current location,
Okay.
we'll be doing that build while we're housing animals at the current location.
I understand now.
Right,
Okay,
right.
thank you.
That's the deal.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Mhm. Good question, but yes, until we decide whether it's going to be housed, we don't know. Okay, anybody else? Okay, very good. Well, this has been very fruitful. I feel good. I feel like the world, even though the world kind of stopped for us, the world was definitely going on for the animal service department, and we're glad to have you. New energy, new blood, new vision, and go for it. And so we're behind you. We look forward to being able to be in some service of the advice, counsel as we go forward. Okay. So with that said and done, I'd like to entertain the motion to adjourn the meeting.
First,
Motion.
Okay, who said that?
second.
Who motioned first? Was that
That's
Gary?
Yeah, motion
Gary?
to adjourn until June.
Okay, and then Maxine seconded.
Second, yes.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, meeting is adjourned, and we will see you next month, hopefully
Yes.
in person.
Yes, hopefully in person. It was nice to meet all of you, and I look forward to working with you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Till next time.